Conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, good morning. Any doubts from previous topics? So yesterday we discussed about object-oriented programming. So what is object-oriented programming? What is the difference between classical programming versus object-oriented? What is not possible through classical programming? What is possible through object-oriented? And when you work with the object-oriented concepts, you need to remember, you need to follow few steps. The steps is class creation, class implementation, and then creating a reference object, providing the memory to the reference object, accessing the class attributes through the reference object, and displaying the object's information. These are the 5 steps. And we have created one local class in the sense whatever you created a class in SE38, which is called local class. So whatever class you created in SE24, which is called global class. So yesterday we created one local class with the data object N1, and then we have implemented class, and then we have referred class through the object reference, and we have assigned memory. After that we passed values to object, and then we used object to display information. And then we converted local class into global class also. In SE24 we have an option where we can convert local class to global class. So in object oriented concept, what are the main terminology you need to remember is, one is class, one is object, and another one is attributes, and another one is method. So these are the common terminology you will see when you work with the object oriented topics. So basically you have a class is a template. So always remember with a real time concept, animal. So animal is a class which doesn't have any real time existence. If anybody asks you to show the animal, either you can show a dog or a lion or a monkey. So there is an animal with a category. But if anybody asks only to show animal, that is not possible. So this is not real time entity. And object. So object here is a real time entity. So when if you take animal as a class, dog, rabbit, horse, so these are all objects for the class. And attributes. Attributes are nothing but properties of the class. So properties of the class means animal. Animal has eyes, legs, and there is a animal has eating. So these are all general properties of a animal. Those are called attributes. And method. Method is nothing but which it describes a specific functionality about the class, like speed. Every animal has a different speed based on their animal category. So if it is a farm animal or wild animal, so the speed will be calculated. So it's a functionality which describes the property of an object. So method is nothing but you can compare in classical programming with a function module concept. So exactly function module is the one which you can compare with the method. So in function module, how you will implement logic and you will call it wherever it is required, right? Same way in method also you will implement logic, and wherever these methods are required, you will call this method and work with the methods. And when you see these common properties, class, object, attribute, method, so these are all inside class. So if you talk about attributes or methods, so these are part of the class. Let's say you have created an attribute n1, and every attribute has levels and visibility section. So what is this level and visibility? Levels are nothing but this particular attribute is a instance attribute or a static attribute or a constant attribute. So what is the level of this attribute? Is it a instance, static, or constant attribute? You have to specify when you are creating a attribute. And visibility. So this attribute can access, public means everyone can access, protected means only this class related friends class or any related class can access the attributes, and private means only this class can access the attribute. So who can access the attribute of a class which decided by the visibility section. So when you create a attribute or when you create a method, the level and visibility is same. You have to specify level and visibility for the class, attribute or methods what you have created. Then what is this instance, static and constant? So today we will see about these levels, what is mean by instance attribute, static attribute, constant attribute of the level, and what is the public, protected, private visibility of the proper attribute. So these things we will see today. So let me log in into the system. So we created a program yesterday, basics, not basics about Sanjay. Oh, about basics change. So this is we have discussed, and the below one also we discussed. So let me comment. And today we will see levels of class of attribute, levels of a class attributes. We will discuss about this instance, static and constant. So let me uncomment this logic. Save, check, activate. Now go through the logic part. So here, first class definition. Class definition means class creation. So what class you are creating? ZCL main is your class name. So you are creating a class ZCL main. The syntax is class followed by class name, and you have to specify definition and end class. This is the syntax. And this class name will be any of your choice. And inside this class, you are creating visibility section for the property. So visibility section is public. Public means this particular attribute, whatever you created inside the class, can access by the same class or child class or outside the class. Anything can access because it is public. Visibility means public. And if you see here, class hyphen data, class hyphen data, which represents static attribute. When you write data, automatically it's a instance attribute. So inside the public section, you are creating an instance attribute. N1 here is a instance attribute. So N1 is instance attribute. How do you know it's instance? When you create with the data statements, it's a instance attribute. And when you create a proper attribute with class hyphen data, which is a static attribute. And when you create an attribute with constants keyword, which is a constant attribute. So we created three different attributes, N1, N2, and N3. One is instance, one is static, and one is constant. So all are type integers. If you observe constants, when I have created a constant attribute, I have assigned value also. So for constants attribute, value addition is mandatory. Without providing the value, you can't create a constants attribute. So if you are just declared like a type I, not providing the value for constant attribute, then it says error. So value addition is missing. So when you create a constant, you have to provide what is the value for that constant attribute. So now with this definition, what we understood, we have created a class ZCL main. Inside this, we have created three different attributes. So same thing I will create in a global class for your understanding. So SC24, I'll create a class ZCL underscore. What is this? Main. So main display, it is not exist, I am creating. So this is global class. So whatever you see inside the program, it's a local class, and this is global class. Save it, save under local object. Now inside this we have attributes. So now I am creating attributes N1, N2, N3. And you have a level. So this is instance, and this is static, and this is constant. So visibility section. So visibility section, for all the attributes I am providing public only. Public means everyone can access these attributes. And type followed by associated type, integer. Now save, check. When you check what it says, it's a constant attribute. You have to provide an value. So a value for constants is missing. So value I'm giving as 2. Now save. So there is no error. Check, activate. So first step, whatever you have done in program, the same thing we have done in SE24. We created a class, and then we have created three attributes, N1, N2, N3. And first N1 is instance attribute. So locally, how do we know this is an instance attribute? Is when you create with the data, it's an instance attribute. When you create it with class hyphen data, which is a static attribute. When you create attribute with constant, which is a constant attribute in the program. So we created N1, N2, N3 with the different levels, and visibility section for all is public. So here also you can see N1, N2, N3 visibility section is public, and data type is integer, and for constant we have assigned value as 2. So first creation part is over. Next, implementation. So once after you create, you need to implement the class. That means save, check, activate we have done, right? That is called implementation. So you need to implement the class. Class implementation is syntax class followed by class name, implementation, and end class. So this is what the syntax. In between class implementation, you can write whatever the class you want to implement. So class definition, class implementation, which are the two steps to create the class locally. And the same thing we have done globally. In global, we have created three different attributes, N1, N2, N3, with the three different levels. So now,
Sanjay,
in order
this is
to access these attributes, N1,
Sanjay.
N2,
Can you hear me?
from local class or from
Hello,
global class.
hello,
So to
Sanjay. Can you hear me?
access class properties, what you have to do, you need to create a reference object. So here you have created a reference object LV underscore N1. So type ref2 is the syntax to access the class. So data followed by data type reference. type ref2 followed by your class name. So this is the syntax. Whatever you see in small letters, which is replaceable, whatever you see in capitals, which are not replaceable, it is a syntax. So data, your data object reference, type ref2 ZCL main. So now this LV underscore N1 is a data object created and it is referring the class main. And LV N2 also, it's a different data object which is referring ZCL main. For now, you are giving reference, but there is no memory allocated. For that, you have to assign memory. So memory assignment will be happened with the statement create object. So create object followed by LVN1 or create object followed by LVN2 means for the reference objects, now you have assigned memory. So once memory is assigned, now you need to pass the values. So LVN1, which is referring ZCL main. In the ZCL main, you have attributes N1, N2, N3. Now class attribute you are referring through object reference, that is called call class attributes using object reference. So LVN1, so if it is an instance attribute or static attribute, you have to use single arrow. So LVN1 followed by single arrow, this is called reference parameter. So you are referring class attribute N1 through the object reference and you are passing value. Now LV underscore N1 hyphen N1, which is having value 4. And then for the same attribute, now you are passing N2. So N2 is static attribute. So static attribute, you are passing value 10. And then when you write LVN1 and LVN2 like this, so you wanted to see, you need to see one thing here. So that is LVN1 hyphen N1, there is a value you have passed, which is 4. So for LVN1 hyphen N1, you have passed a value called 4. LVN2 hyphen N1. So for the other data object, LVN2 hyphen N1, do you passed any value? No. So that is 0. And LVN1 hyphen N2. So which means this is a other data object. Okay. So this data object you have passed value 10. And LVN2 hyphen N2. So LVN2 hyphen N2, do we pass any value? No. So which means it is 0. And LVN1 hyphen N3. So LVN1 hyphen N3. Hyphen N3 means constant attribute. So constant attribute, when you refer, constant attribute value is 2. So this is what your expectation. It has to be displayed in the output like this because LVN1 is the object which is referencing class attribute N1 and you have passed value 4. So instead of talking about this, you can just check the N1. For N1 you have passed value 4. For N2 you have passed value as 10. Okay. So now 4 and 10 is there. So for LVN2, a different data object, have you passed any value of N1? No. And here N1 is instance attribute. So for instance attribute, you have passed value 4 and for other object, you have not passed any value. So it is 0. And N2 here is a instance attribute. N2 is static attribute. N2 is static attribute. So N2 was static attribute. So for N2, you have passed value 10. For other data object, do you passed any value? No, which is 0. For constant, we have not passed any value. So already there is a value assigned. But when you execute it, you will not get output like this. A different output will come. So if you see 4, 0, 10, 10, 2. So where is the gap? So 4, 0, 10. Why it is coming as 10? It's supposed to be 0, right? So check here, are we passing anywhere 10 for this LVN2 hyphen N2? LV_N2 -N2? No, there is no value we are passing. But even though if you see for LV_N2 there is a value which is coming as 10, which is not coming as 0. Why this is? Because N2 is a static attribute. Static meaning is not changed. So when you refer a static attribute through the object reference, and if you pass a value to that, and whenever any object, if you create n number of object, okay, then if you refer the same attribute, always it will give you the same result. It will static means it won't change. That is what the meaning of static. So the difference between instance and static is, instance attribute you can refer through object reference, and then a separate memory will be allocated, and when you pass value, value will be displayed in the output. So let's say I am passing LV_N2 -N1, so which means this is 6. Now execute. So 4 6. So this is 4 is a instance attribute, 6 is a instance attribute. So this instance attribute N1, okay, you are referring with the two different data objects. N1 is a instance attribute. This instance attribute you are referring through with the two different data objects. So whenever you are referring with a different data object, a memory will be created separately for instance attribute. So instance means every reference there is a separate memory will be allocated. That's where you are able to display two different values for the same instance attribute. When you go to the N2, N2 here is a static attribute. N2 is static attribute. Static means unchanged. Okay, so the value, once you assigned a value to a static attribute, and then if you create n number of data objects, okay, all the data objects can give you the same result. So I have created LV_N2 typeref2 ZCL main, and LV_N2 now it is referring N2 data object, but we have not passed any value, even though it was giving value as 10. Why? Because you have already passed a value to N2 data object, N2 attribute. So static attribute means always it won't change if you create n number of data objects. Let's say if I created one more data object, LV_N3, this is another data object. So type ref2 same class. I am referring the same class. After that, LV_N3 is created, but memory is not allocated. So you need to allocate memory. So create object LV_N3. Now memory is allocated. Now once memory is allocated, by using this object reference, you can access class attribute. So now I am accessing class attribute of N2. Not here. So I'll write here. So I am accessing class attribute N2. Am I passing any value here? No. But I'll get result as 10. So you can see result as 10. So why it is coming 10? Because first time you accessed class attribute, static attribute, and you have passed a value as 10. So that's where whenever you call any time with a different data references, so once you passed, never the value gets changed. Okay, that is what the meaning of static, and this is what the difference of instance. So instance, it requires a object reference, and every time it create a different memory, and values will be allocated differently. For static, it will be unchanged. Whenever you refer and assign some value, value will not be unchanged. If you call multiple object reference through also, the value will be remains same. And now constant reference. So if I try to pass lv-n1 here, so I wanted to assign some value as 6. So lv-n1 is a object reference, and ZCL main, inside the ZCL main you have an attribute called n3. So if you go here, you have an attribute called n3. For this, you are passing value as 6, but system will give error. Why it is giving error? Because LV and N1 is referring constant attribute. So constant attribute value you cannot change through programmatically. So whenever it is created, at that moment itself, you will be providing value to that. So instance means every instance different memory allocated and value will be changed. Static means once memory allocation is done, value assignment is completed. If you call this particular attribute through multiple references, the value will be unchanged. Value will not be changed. Constants means whenever you create the property attribute, default you have to assign some value, and this value will not be changed at any of the situations. You can't assign any value outside the class. You need to just refer that to display the values inside of the constant attribute. So this is about the levels inside a class attribute. So let me activate and comment. So now we will see visibility section. So what is the visibility section? Visibility section, we have public, protected, private. So what is mean by this public, protected and private? So name itself says public means the property of the class can access by the same class or friends class or outside the class. Everyone can access. There is no restriction for accessing the class attribute. So protected means outside the class it is not accessible. Only inside it is accessible. Private means only inside it is accessible. So if you see here, I have created a class with the public section, private section, a protected section and private section. And here, how many attributes I have created? 3 attributes. N1 is a public, and N2 is protected, and N3 is private section. And there is a method also inside public section. So same thing in SE24, how we can create? So N1 is public, and this is instance because data keyword is used. And also you have created a method called data. So when you go to the methods, you can create a method, and this is instance because you have used keyword as methods. So if you use methods hyphen data, then which is a static method. Now it is instance method. And visibility. Visibility is public only. Now save. And then you have to implement this class method data. So class implementation has method implementation, method followed by end method, double click. So method followed by end method. I am not going to write any code, just simply activating the class method. So first one, you have a N1 data object attribute, N1 data object attribute, a type is integer and it is a instance level and public section. And second thing, you may have a method data, and this is instance and public visibility. After that, you have protected section for N2. So this is N2 also a static instance attribute only. So it is instance. And visibility is changed, it's a protected. Now N3 is private section, but level is instance only because data keyword is used. So this is instance, and now it is private property. Okay, so this is what the local class declaration. I'll change value from here because this is not constant. Now save, check, activate. So if you what you have created, you created a local class having three attributes n1, n2, n3, and one method, and n1 properties levels n1, n2, n3 is instance, and visibility section is different. For n1 it is public, n2 protected, n3 is private. Now this class attributes we wanted to access from outside the class. To access from outside the class, you need to first create the reference objects. Reference object type ref2 followed by ZCL main. So now this reference object is referencing the class, and then you need to assign memory. So memory assignment will happen with create object. And also if you observe here, we have used a event called start of selection. So why we have used start of selection is because in this case we have created a method. So whenever you created a method, and before creating the memory assignment, you need to use start of selection. If you are not using start of selection, system will throw error, especially when you create a method. If you are not creating methods, then no need to use start of selection event. So now we have created reference object and memory also allocated. Now by reference objects, now you are accessing class attributes. So lvn1 is your reference object, and you are referring class attribute, one of the attribute n1, and you are passing value as 4. Same thing, you will be using another reference, and you will be passing value as 6 for n2 attribute. So now if you write code to display L1 value and LVN2 value, system will not provide you the information. You will throw error, save, check. What it is saying, N2 accessing is not possible because it is a protected. So for protected attribute, you can't access outside the class. So that is not possible to access outside the class. And as well as private attribute also. Protected and private attributes you cannot access outside the class. So if I wanted to access through LVN1, N3 equal to some value 5 I was passing. So now save, ready print, check. Again, you can see error. Private attribute is not allowed. So which means public attribute or private attributes you can't access through object reference outside the class. So I'm only displaying LV value N1 because LVN2, LVN1, which is referring attributes N2 and N3, these are protected and private. So for protected private attributes, we can't access outside the class. Now, question is, then how can we access this protected attributes? It is okay. So we can't access this protected attributes and public attributes outside the class. But then is there any way where we can access these attributes? Is yes, you can access through method. So if you have to create a method with the public section. Public means anyone can access. So inside this method, you can call your protected and private attributes. So if you go here, LV call method LV N2 data. So double click, you can see here N2 equal to 6, N3 equal to 10, and you will be passing code here. So which means inside this method, you are passing values, save, check, activate. So N2, N3 are protected and private attributes. So protected private attributes which is accessed by the same class. Okay, so same class can access protected and private attributes. So that's where there is no error which is coming. But when you are accessing outside the class, so when you are accessing outside the class through object reference, it won't accept because N2, N3 are the properties of the class protected and private. So you cannot access. Then how we can access outside is, so you can build a logic inside the method by using the protected and private attributes, and you can call this method from the outside. So in this way, you can access your protected and private attributes. So here LVN2 is your object which you have created and data is your method. So call method is the syntax where to call the method of a class. So call method followed by your object reference and then your method. So now what it will happen? So this call method it will call and it will pass the values and it will display values whatever inside the class method N2 and N3. And LVN1 is a public attribute and you are passing 4 value here. So you will be getting 6, 10, 4 in your output as a result. 6, 10 and 4. 6, 10 are protected and private attributes which are calling inside the class method. So one thing you have to remember not to confuse, okay, with the object oriented program is there are 5 sections, okay. Make sure always when you write there are 5 sections, okay. First 2 sections are class creation part, okay, and remaining sections are to access the class attribute. That is what we are going to do. So when you create SC24 class, so first 2 parts are not required. So if you created a class here with the attributes, then this class definition implementation is not required. Okay. So when this definition implementation is required, when you wanted to create class locally. If you create a class here in SC24, you no need to write the definition and implementation. So these two are replica of global classes. Class creation part. So once class is created either locally or globally, that means first 2 steps are completed. Next steps are how we can access the class properties, class attributes or class methods. So to access class attributes or method, you need a objects. So objects, how we can create with a data keyword, data followed by your object name, type ref2 followed by your class. And after that, your objects through you are going to class call your attributes, but objects doesn't really exist. It is not exist so far. You need to create it first. So memory will be assigned. So how memory will be assigned is with a statement called create object. So create object which assign memory to LVN1, LVN2. After that, by using this object reference, you can call the class attributes. Okay. And then you can do whatever you need. So always object reference is required for class attribute. That is what you need to remember. And always you need to convert the code into real time when you are working with the object oriented concepts. So real time means you consider any one generic examples and then correlate with that. So class here you consider as a animal. Okay. So this is a animal class. Animal class has a properties. So normal animal, what it has a category. Every animal has category. The category decides what animal it is, wild animal or a house animal or domestic animal. So it's a property. This property attribute which decides what is the category of a animal. So one is category. N1 you can compare with a category, and N2 it's every animal has a blood group. So blood group is one more property, and every animal has a lifespan. So N3 is a lifespan. Like that you can correlate. After that, to access this class attributes, what you need? Object. So object is what? Here LVN1. So LVN1 you compare with like a dog, and LVN2. So LVN2 is a another animal like lion. Okay. So now lion is referencing the animal class, and dog also referencing the animal class. Now after that you when you refer, it won't exist lion or dog. So you just created, but some memory means real time existence is required. So real time existence will be created when you use create object. So after create object, now lion and dog are really exist. LVN1 is a dog and LVN2 is a lion. So now real time objects are exist, real time entities are there in the real world. So after that, now what we are doing? So you are using dog. LVN1 is a dog, and a dog, by using this object, you are referring class animal category property. So this is category. N1 is a category. So dog hyphen category. So what you are trying to say? Dog belongs to a category domestic. So here it is value 4. So in your case, you can create a type C with some 4 or 5 characters and write it as a domestic animal. So to specify what is dog, you are saying that dog is a domestic animal. To convey that, what you are doing, you created a animal class, and then you have created a object. Object is your animal, and then this lion or dog, through you are referencing the class proper attributes. So now dog is referring the category, and for dog category you are passing as a domestic. And when you write what is the dog category, it is displaying as domestic animal. Now lion wanted to lion also wanted to know what is the category. So again, lion, what it is doing, it is LVN2, which is also referring the class attribute. LVN2 followed by category is what? N1. And here lion category belongs to wild animal. And when you write LVN1 or another data object, LVN2 followed by N1, which gives, which is lion is a wild animal. So when you work with the object oriented concepts, you have to bring, if it is funny also fine, but you need to bring any real time scenario, whatever you see in real examples in your with your eyes, and then write the code. Then it is very easy object oriented program. Or if you think like the definition wise, it will be always very difficulty for your understanding. When you compare with the real time examples, it will be very easy. So right now whatever I said, right, so you can create one class and then work on it, so that it will be easy to understand object oriented concepts. So I'll quickly create, just now I said, right, one animal and lion dog referencing the attribute. So we'll create one global class instead of local class. Quickly, when we will create a global class. So animal, which is a class. So this is animal class. Save local object. So now animal class has a property. So category. So category is a property, and visibility is public. Instance and visibility is public. And save. I will create only one. Enter attribute type fully. What is this? Type. What is this type? It's a character 10. Enter. So data type is missing. Now save, check, activate. So you created a class. What is this class name? Animal. So now I need this class category to describe what is lion, what is a dog. So first you need to refer that category class. So how you can refer with a data statement, data followed by here what is that lion is the data object. Type ref to your animal class, and dog also referring dog also belongs to what category? Animal category. So here you are saying, okay, lion and dog both are belongs to animal category. That is what the meaning. Now lion, dog are referencing category of animal. After that you need to say what is lion category, what is dog category. So category is there inside the animal class. Category we have here. So you need to refer that to specify which category lion belongs, which category dog belongs. For that, first you need to create lion and dog. So lion really how it will be created with the create object statement. Now create object dog. So now lion and dog really exist. So after that, you need to say what is the category of lion. So for that, you need to use the object lion followed by lion is referencing what? Animal class. Inside the animal class, you have the attribute. So this is the category. And category equal to, so you are saying lion is a wild animal. And dog category, again dog also using the same category. So what is the dog category? It is a domestic animal. So now if you write what is the line category and what is the dog category, so you will be getting output as line category is wild animal, dog category is domestic animal. So here you can write a lion belongs to and comma, this is your data object line category. And here you can write dog comes under comma dog category. So pretty print, save, check, activate, and then execute. So line belongs to wild animal, dog comes under domestic animal. So like this we can use a class whenever we need a real-time object, a real-time entity. So always try to convert into real time so that understanding will be easy. Okay, otherwise always it's a complex difficult process to understand object oriented topics. Everything it is linked to class, object, and instance, public, protected, static attributes. Always every above programming, object oriented programming will be running around these statements only. Okay, so when you compare with the real time scenarios, or real time scenarios in the sense like real time entities, then only it is easy to understand. So today what we have seen, like in a class attribute, we have different levels, instance, static, constants, and also every attribute has a visibility section, public, protected, and private. And how can we access public, protected, private attributes outside the class? And if you outside the class, protected privates are not permissible, then how can we access it? So these are the things we covered today. And tomorrow we will see how do we use import exports, and we will create one report tomorrow by using the object oriented topic. So any doubts so far today?
If no questions, we can wind up for the day.